Welcome, everyone. We're back again for another show. Anything that I say is not meant to diagnose you or replace your medical care. Check with your doctor before implementing any of the suggestions that I'm about to tell you. Awesome. Can you hear me okay, Steve?
Sure can. Loud
Okay,
and
great.
clear, and so can all our wonderful guests. And we might as well kick it off this morning. And our first one up is Randy from Ontario, a place called London, I guess, near there. Randy, you're on with Dr. Berg. Go ahead,
Hi,
Randy.
Dr. Berg. It's nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Randy.
Uh, hello.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Great, thanks.
Nice to meet you and been following you for a while now. I like a lot of the content you put out and the information. Little bit of background. I used to do triathlons many years ago, and I'm trying to, and then of course you get a career and then life happens. I take the body type test, the one before I did the test on your website. It was adrenal, and this time it came up with liver. Now I did have blood tests done and stuff recently, probably a year ago. I have a little bit of elevated ALT, and now I'm just struggling with getting some of the weight off. My question is what's the best way, what's the best transition to go from the normal diet that we eat with sugar and grains to keto? I'm having trouble getting from the normal way of eating, or the way that we've been used to eating, to keto.
That's a really good question. A very good question. What would be easier for you, to lower your carbs or not eat so frequently? Let's say you weren't going to change your diet, but you just have to have like less meals. Would that be easier, or would it be easier to lower your carbs?
Well, I've already lowered the number of times I eat every day. I'm trying to get it down to 3, and I have lowered some carbs as well and increased protein and salads. So I've been doing that, and I just don't want to go off the carbs because I get moody and I'm not focused and stuff, and it's hard.
So that's what I wanted to find out. Like, what do you run into? And of course, you run into your blood sugar issues, and you get kind of moody and things. So I think the best thing to do is you need to, it's like with the keto, it's like a switch. It's like it's either all or nothing. You're either in ketosis or you're not. So I think for you, the MCT oil is going to be key, because that'll feed your brain, and that'll help minimize the transition issues that you have with the brain. So if you actually add more MCT oil in an empty stomach or in the morning, and you'll find even though you might not be in keto, it'll give you ketones, because those fats turn into ketones, and you'll feel better. And then make sure you take enough potassium or electrolytes, as well as sea salt, so you don't get any side effects from transitioning. But honestly, I think you might want to rip the Band-Aid on this and just jump right in, because if you were just to do, 2 meals a day and then squish down to 1 meal a day, I think you would have maybe symptoms for 2 days, maybe 3, and then it's over. The moodiness is gone, the cravings are gone, the hunger's not there anymore, and now it's going to be a lot easier. So I think if you go too gradual, you're going to be in pain for too long. It's like you feel kind of cranky, and you're making this transition. And honestly, I think why prolong the misery? Just jump right in, rip that Band-Aid, and be done with it within 2.5 days. Let me know if that works.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That's great. Go, Randy. We wish you all the best. It's like cutting back on smoking. It just stinks. You just got to throw the darn things away at some point and get on with it, as miserable as that might be.
It's like you almost have to treat your body like, okay, that's it. You're not eating for today. I'll let you know when I'm going to feed you. Because because the body will just start telling you, oh yeah, just have a little pizza, this is uncomfortable. And so I just kind of like jump right in and say, nope, you're not eating. I'll let you know when you're going to eat. And then all of a sudden it works. So rip that Band-Aid.
That's it. Get on with it. Well, I tell you what, let's get
Yeah,
on with our
exactly.
quiz questions, Doc. And here's the first one for this Friday.
All right. What is the worst food for the prostate? Out of all the foods that you could eat, what would be the worst?
You lucky gals can put your pens down for this one. It's great. All right. So while you guys cogitate on that, we're still working on our shout out. There's so many people. By the way, I just saw that Russia chimed in. I'm so glad to hear that Russia is on there. I don't think we have them on our list all the time. So good for you guys in that big, beautiful stretch of land there. We're glad that you're listening and getting healthy with the rest of them. And let's see. Why don't we go to our next participant? And this is Connie. Connie, you there from Texas? She's going to unmute herself and talk about barbecue and whatever particular issue she might have. Connie, welcome to the Dr. Berg Show. And look in your camera there so we can see your lovely face.
Yeah. It seems to be twisted again. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Your question is even more important than that.
Okay.
But we'll
All
fix you up.
I've been on your diet now for quite a while, and I'm stuck. I'm been stuck at 163 pounds for about a year now. I can't seem to move that gauge on that scale and everything else. I am running into a problem with high cholesterol as well and adrenal issues. So I don't know what more to do.
So some couple quick questions. How many meals a day are you consuming?
1 to 2.
Okay. Is there, are you doing really strict keto, or are you doing kind of sorted keto where you do have some snacks?
No snacks. It's just a meal. I usually have one about 10, 11, and the next one about 4 or 5. But I do drink. Like in the evening, I will make, Yeah, I do. I guess I could be a third meal there. I have a smoothie at times before I go to bed.
And you said, I think you, something kind of got missed there. Did you say you drink, was it alcohol or a smoothie?
Smoothie.
Okay. All right. Just put a little vodka in there. No.
No. I don't do good on alcohol.
Okay. Yeah. So I think with you, we're dealing with a slower metabolism. I think are you hungry for that first meal, or do you just eat it?
Usually I'm hungry.
Okay. So I think we just need to work on getting you more into a fat adapted. So I would do this if I were you. I would up your fats, even though your cholesterol is a little higher, because I would add some healthy fats in there for the purpose of satisfying you a little bit more, so you can go longer without eating. I think I would do whatever I could to not have that first meal and just do one meal a day and not have the shake, because what you're dealing with is just we're getting too much insulin spike. And I think if you did that, the hunger would go away for sure, because you're going to be tapping into your fat because you're going to be fat adapted. And then you can add more fat or MCT oil to if you get hungry. But I think that's what you need to work towards. As far as the cholesterol goes, if your carbs are low, the only reason the cholesterol would be high is that the fat, as it's being released, releases some cholesterol. And if you're concerned even a little bit about that cholesterol, the simple solution is to take some bile salts and take that in an empty stomach, and it'll help get rid of any excess cholesterol that's coming from your fat cell. So that'll go through the liver nicely, and because you're eating one meal a day, that's when you're going to start losing weight.
Okay.
But anyone over the age of 50 needs to kind of gravitate to one meal a day if their metabolism is slow, for sure.
Well, I'm hypothyroid I have hypothyroidism as well,
Okay.
and
So
I'm
that
diabetic.
so that okay, that makes it even more challenging. Are you taking your type 2 diabetic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I think this plan that I just told you is going to be really good for your ability to take the least amount of medication because um, it's going to be very therapeutic to those two conditions.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. What kind of fats would you recommend?
I would definitely go with the don't be afraid to cook with like tallow. I would not afraid to have some butter, fatty fish, avocado, um, and MCT oil. MCT oil, just so you know, will not raise your cholesterol at all. If you're, some people really are concerned about, well, just do MCT oil. It doesn't even use your bile. It just kind of bypasses that. It's real easy to turn into ketones, and that might be a nice way to curb your hunger instead of first meal. You just have some of that in a tablespoon or something, and then just sail right through it.
Is the MCT oil the same as coconut oil?
No, um, MCT oil comes from coconut oil, but the coconut oil only has like 15% MCT fats.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You want straight MCT fats, and then we'll
Okay.
get 100% of those type of fats that turn right into ketones.
Okay.
Well,
And
that's
just so you know, most companies that sell MCT will get it from the same source, but there's a big difference in price. I think they charge way too much for the MCT oil. I have on my site, if you check the price, it's the lowest that you could find anywhere, because I think it's just you got to make it available for people, but you can get it anywhere. So
Okay. I'll
yeah,
check it out.
okay, great.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for all your good YouTube videos.
Hey, I appreciate you watching them.
well, that's wonderful. And Connie, congratulations on an astounding weight loss. If I recall, 35 pounds or something. That's terrific. So go, Connie. I'm sure you'll continue to progress. And let's go back to our quiz question, Doc. And Terry, our co-producer, we're going to call it Terry's Query because he asks these questions and he comes up with some very specific numbers. And the question was, what is the worst food for your prostate? 77% say dairy, 13% say soy products, 10% say sugar or carbs. Doc, do we have any geniuses today?
Well, it sounds like the majority of people have been watching my video. So the one that you got to watch out for is dairy. If you're concerned about your prostate and you find that you're not able to go to bed through the night without getting up multiple times, and you want to handle that, you're going to have to take dairy and just put it to the side right now. And if you do have dairy, make sure it's organic from grass-fed animals. And I would also, of course, soy and sugar is another problem. But what's really interesting, you'll find an improvement if you cut out dairy with your prostate. And then also, if you want to take it one step further, especially if you're getting up several times a night, you get on the keto and intermittent fasting program that I recommend. And I'm telling you, you'll handle the insulin resistance, and then you won't get up at all at night. It's quite dramatic. And almost every single person that I've ever talked to that has that problem improves tremendously just by getting off the carbs and staying consistent with intermittent fasting. So it's a simple solution if you can do it.
Well, that's terrific. And I tell you what, we would love having our people on like Connie and so on. But we don't want to forget about social media. And we have people that are looking at your questions constantly. And Dr. Berg goes through them after the show and looks to, and that's sometime the source for his various informative videos. But today, let's see, we've got John says he has a skipping heartbeat, so a little arrhythmia, and he says he's sort of good on his electrolytes. What else can he do to assist in overcoming that? Doctor, by the way, says that he's not in any trouble, but it's an annoyance.
I have done quite a few videos on this. I will tell you that this thing right here, it's called the cell phone. or any type of EMF will definitely disrupt the pacemaker of your cell, especially if it's near your bed while you're sleeping, like it was with myself. So I had to literally make some adjustments to the electrical stuff in our wall, and what a difference, especially if you sit behind a computer and you got your battery backup there and your power cables. You need to get a little tester and reduce the EMF that's flowing through there. And of course, there's two parts of your body that are very sensitive to EMF. One is your brain and the other is your heart, because they both have like electrical fields and even magnetic fields that extend from those two parts of your body. So that's one thing. The other thing would be, believe it or not, if you do sustained exercise, like especially these bikers that do a higher pulse rate for a longer period of time, what happens is the heart starts becoming stronger and bigger, and the pacemakers don't quite adapt to that increased heart size, and that can throw off the rhythm of the heart, believe it or not. So that's another cause. But I have quite a few videos on that, and there's some remedies that you can take. There's quite a few. So if you've already tried your electrolytes, but there's a website. It's called I can't remember the name of it, but it's, if you just type in intracellular magnesium, you'll find it. And there's a test that can be done to measure the electrolytes inside your cell from just scraping the inside of your mouth and sending it off for a test. And that will tell you if you're really deficient in electrolytes and give you great data. Because doing a blood test is a waste of time for measuring potassium and magnesium, because they're intracellular, like 99% of it's inside the cell, not in your blood. So it's worthless testing the blood.
Perfect. Well, let's go over to our friends on Facebook. Carolyn on Facebook wants your recommendation for a nurse who works night shifts regularly while fasting and OMAD. I'm not sure what the question, maybe she should modify, but she says regularly while fasting and OMAD.
It's when you start doing different shifts, rotational shifts, it's really hard on the body if you're rotating those shifts. I'm going to highly recommend, if you do a third shift or second shift, you stay consistent with that shift and you don't go back and forth, because it's so hard on the body. It'll throw off the rhythms. If you want to get your body back in rhythm, whether it's jet lag or a rotational shift, or just rotating your body, vitamin D will help to reset the internal clock in your brain. So vitamin D is a real important nutrient for the sleep cycles. And you take it right before you go to bed, believe it or not. It's very effective.
Well, that's terrific. I tell you what, why don't we say hello to the world? And they're coming to us all over, as usual, from the UK, Canada, Iraq, Denmark, Dubai, Russia, as we mentioned, Croatia, Australia, Kuwait, the Dominican Republic, Spain, Pakistan, Chile, Antigua, Zambia, been there, South Africa, France, Germany, the Netherlands, the Philippines. And let's see, he added a few. Boy, they're coming from all over. My goodness. And Afghanistan, Tanzania, and all, of course, these beautiful United States, India, the Cayman Islands, Taiwan. And by the way, we've got someone, May from Taiwan will be coming up shortly. So we actually have someone online in that regard. So thank you, everybody around the world, for supporting Dr. Berg's show. And he reciprocates with all these great videos and products and so on. So it's a really win-win situation for all of us. Dr. Berg, why don't we go on to the next quiz question, which is as follows.
All right, so what prevents keto flu? I wanted to give you guys an easy one. Everyone should know this. I want to see what your answers are on this one. What prevents keto flu?
All right, great question. And I tell you what, why don't we go to May, who's from Taiwan, and May, mute yourself, and you're on with Dr. Berg.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Thank you
Hi.
so much for all the wonderful videos. I have seen pretty much all of them. And everyone I've watched, I feel like that's me.
Oh, that's great.
I On June 15th, I had an accident. I don't understand how did it happen. After my 3 days fasting, water fasting, and I was sent to emergency room and diagnosed with DKA and also hypothyroidism. And I was kept in ICU overnight. Now, my history, both my parents, my younger brother, all died from diabetes complication and cancer. And I inherited more of my parents' side's unfavorable genes, so I have all those diabetic issues. And the thyroid problems. I have thalassemia minor, and also as a little kid growing up in Taiwan, the little Formosa island, I had severe arthritis pain growing up. And when I came to this country 30 years ago, those arthritis went away, disappeared. And so I believe that's probably because of the weather. Here it's much drier. Maybe that's why my body likes it. I have been aware of my diabetic, had been on borderline since I was pregnant with my son about 28 years ago. So it has been always 100, 120, slightly creep up 130 for decades until starting around last year, it started going up to like over 130, 140 consistently. Doesn't matter what I do. I've been on fasting probably for 2-3 years. More like until afternoon or around 2 o'clock. And then I also been on low carb, not a complete keto like you have recommended. I just don't have the kind of discipline to cut down completely to what you recommended. But I have been on low carb diet for years as well. So, and every time when I feel like trying to lower down the morning glucose number, I would do a 3-4 days fasting, and usually it'll work beautifully. After 3 or 4 days fasting, my morning glucose will go down to like around 80 or 90. And then, it'll stay there as long as I can control my diet or exercise. But this year, it just seems to didn't really help that much. And then the June episode kind of scared me. What did I do wrong? How could my 3 days fasting turn into a DKA? And also, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which is another shock for me. I used to have hypothyroidism for years, all my life, I know. And then what triggered to turn into a hypothyroidism? So, what can you maybe help?
So thanks for that quick question, that one question that I will answer. A couple things. Sounds like there's a genetic weakness, so you have to pick your parents more wisely. And obviously that's not an option anymore. So what you have to do is, I have videos on this. There's the good news is the epigenetic factor. Epigenetics are something that's above genes. It's what controls your genes. So even though you've been dealt these certain genes, you can influence them. The problem is you have to be extra good. You can't probably get away with what someone without that problem would be able to get away with. So I think you might need to be more strict with your carbohydrates. I like the fact that you're fasting so long. And I think if you can keep in the correct eating plan and just make sure it's nutrient dense in the fasting, then you need to look at some other things as well at the same time. Like, for example, nutrition. What's really important to support the cell that produces insulin is to take benfotiamine. Benfotiamine is really important to counter some of the complications that you have. And then, of course, enough vitamin D for the pancreas. And then work on your exercise, keep that very consistent. Make sure your sleep is very, very good. If you're getting just 7 hours, I would try to do what I've been doing recently, which is to get sometimes 8 or even 9 hours. So I'm trying all these different things to do that, and I've done videos on that. But that extra bit of sleep, wow, does that affect your mood, your cognitive function, your organs, your recovery? It's dynamite. And I think so many people have this chronic lack of sleep, or it's just borderline. And I think that's like very devastating to so many different problems, especially recovery. And then watch some of my videos on insulin resistance and how to just strengthen that, because you should implement all of those and just be a little bit more strict with what you're doing. That's the, unfortunately, there's a lot to talk about, but I have so many other people here. But what we're trying to do on these shows is just answer like a quick question instead of doing a full evaluation.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, May, we appreciate having you on the air, and we wish you all the best. And why don't you call back in at some point after you tried some of these recommendations? We'd love to hear about your great progress. And now, Dr. Berg, being a wise guy, I was going to take a stab at Stacy Joe from Facebook's question, but I'm going to shut up and let you answer it. Can I take coconut oil if I'm allergic to coconuts?
I probably would not take it. I probably would not take it. If you're allergic to something, don't take it, because you will react to it. I will say, though, if you have allergies and you do periodic prolonged fasting and regular intermittent fasting, there's quite a few people that seem to improve their allergies, if not sometimes get rid of certain allergies. And as a side note, one thing I was going to tell the lady I was just talking to, the most hypothyroid cases, Hashimoto's, that usually stems from a gut issue. So I think if you have a thyroid issue, you should be supporting your microbiome. Start taking a really good probiotic, because that's usually where it starts, in the gut. So.
Good. Well, May from Taiwan, I hope that also helps as well. And by the way, I love over to YouTube, Missy Madness, as she calls herself. I love this. I'm really struggling. I'm on Nexplanon, whatever that is, but I keep having the runnies, as she puts it. And I'm an anxious person, so I tend to get distracted and not eat a 3-meal diet every day. It doesn't sound like she eats well or much. I do comfort eat as a fizzy addict, whatever that is. But anyway, I love the runnies. I can certainly relate to that.
Well, let's just say if someone has diarrhea, of course, it's usually something they ate, they have to, or they're taking that is your body's reacting to. But I will say, I don't know if I talked about this last week or not, but one of the best ways to stop diarrhea is to take a green banana and actually cook it and consume it. And that usually will help your situation, shall we say, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. We wish Missy all the best. Missy that likes fizzy and has the runnies. So we wish her well. And we also would like to say thank you to all the folks for answering these questions. What prevents the keto flu was the question. And Dr. Berg, our audience, 65% of them say electrolytes, 20% say MCT oil, which we just spoke of, 10% say bile salts, 5% say vitamin B. So there's a whole lineup. Got any geniuses among them?
Well, this one is, yes, electrolytes, but specifically in the electrolytes, what's going to handle this is the sea salt. Now, I will say this. Some people seem to resolve it with potassium and other electrolytes, but usually the sea salt will handle the keto flu. It just means you need more sea salt. One of the mistakes that people make when they start keto is they don't realize they have to up electrolytes or sea salt and in the B vitamins, so they end up having reactions. And if you're deficient in sodium, you'll feel kind of achy, brain fog, and you'll have weak muscles too. You'll feel weak. And so if you have those, you don't have the flu, you just have a sodium deficiency. So take some sea salts and you'll feel better. It's that quick.
Well, that's terrific. Let's go back to YouTube. Mubaraka, I probably butchered that, but what could cause bloating in a 46-year-old woman? I don't think she's probably alone.
Do you have an hour? I mean, there's so many things that cause bloating. Of course, consuming carbs will make you bloat. And honestly, I would, for that question, I would simply just watch my video. I have a lot of videos on bloating and just get more data because uh, chances are you're probably not on keto and you need to get on keto. Um, but let's say, for example, you do get on keto and you're doing intermittent fasting and you're still bloating. It could mean that you need more bile, more support to the gallbladder. So you can get some bile salts or gallbladder formula, and that'll help. It could be you need more stomach acids, so betaine hydrochloride. A lot of people have low stomach acids, and they have a lot of bloating because of that. And especially if they have indigestion, that's a big indicator that means that you need more acid in your stomach. As we age, we lose the stomach acid. So, and then all of a sudden, like you start getting, you can't tolerate red meat too much anymore. You dislike it. Well, that's because you don't have enough acid and your body is saying, don't eat that. So.
Well, there we go. We wish, and that's sort of a ladies' thing, it seems to be. So we're very grateful that you all take on, run that gauntlet, and we have our other issues. And we also have a new quiz. And Doc, take it away.
Okay, what prevents keto fatigue? Okay, we've already talked about keto flu. Now, what about the fatigue part? How do you handle that? Why do people get that? What are they deficient in?
And so many quit. And I hear all these people, hang in there, don't quit before the miracle, of ketosis. And they're really happy when they do. So hang in there, viewers. There is life after keto flu or fatigue and so on, and health and so on. So that is terrific. And let's move on. Why don't we go to Dominique? And Dominique, if you would unmute yourself, you are on with Dr. Berg. Dominique, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I will make it quick. Since April, I lost on your diet 82 pounds.
Wow.
And it's incredible because I also have hypothyroidism and had problems with candida. I think I hope I pronounced it right. And have been struggling with weight for so many years. And it's a miracle to me. But my question is now, my husband gets a little bit concerned that I'm now, he's like, you're good. You don't need to lose any more. So my question is, what do I do now to maintain my weight?
Yeah, I think that instead of going back to any carbohydrates, what I would do is I would maintain it I wouldn't do 3 meals a day. I would do 2 meals a day, and I would add more calories, and I would add more fat to the meals. And that way your body will burn the dietary fat instead of your own fat. So that way you can maintain that. It's quite amazing. Like, rarely is that a problem, but it becomes a problem when you're on keto.
Yeah, I lost 2 pounds accidentally. I didn't try to.
Boy, wouldn't.
It's amazing.
Yes. Wouldn't people just love to have that issue?
Right?
So I think you're in a maintenance zone, and I think this is really good. You have, it doesn't take very long to consume a jelly donut or a couple of them. It probably takes, well, let's ask Steve. Steve, how long does it usually take you to eat a jelly donut? Like,
oh my
seconds?
Gosh, you shouldn't talk singulars. I can fire 5 down in a blink of an eye.
So you take 10 seconds or 15 seconds to eat this jelly donut, but then now you have to, how long does it take to work out to burn off those calories? So you have like maybe 300 or 400 calories you have to burn off. So now we have to go run, jog for an hour or more to burn off that 10-second, pleasure moment. But even if
I was a sugar addict. I started out by doing a 100-day no sugar challenge, and I found you after 30 days, and it changed my life, adding the intermittent fasting to it. In 1 month, I lost 29 pounds after I found you. And I just implemented intermittent fasting with the no sugar, no dairy, no gluten.
Oh, that is
doing
fantastic.
I have so many people now that are asking me, what are you doing?
Wow.
Just wanted to see. I want to maintain and stay healthy. And thank you.
Hey, my pleasure.
so
My
much.
pleasure.
Well, that's so great. That is such an inspirational story. And I tell you what, with the donuts, what I do now, my little mantra is as I go by Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts, I imagine the order. Yes, I would like a box of depression, please, if you don't mind. Well, would you, like some anxiety on top of that? Yes, please include that. And that's that thing, like you said, that moment of joy, and it does kind of give you a kick and you feel a little buzz for a second. But boy, that long drawn out depression that comes afterwards and then trying to get back on cycle. And I really have been successful in staying away from those really bad carbs because it's miserable.
Oh, and then and then you have an average person who is not on keto or doing any intermittent fasting, and they're thinking in their mind, I'm just going to exercise these carbs off. But the problem is they don't even get into, they don't even act, all they're burning off because their carbs are too high. All they're going to burn off is their stored glucose. And then as soon as they drop down their glycogen, which is the stored glucose, now they're going to be starving and ravenously hungry after their workouts. So it must be miserable to get on that train to try to lose weight and without being on keto. If you're new to my channel, if you're watching this right now and you want an easier way, when you get on keto, you actually start doing something very differently. You start burning your own fat, and your hunger goes away, and your cravings go away, and it's a lot easier, and it's pleasurable, and your cognitive function improves, and your mood improves. So what's not to like about that, Steve?
Oh, nothing. And it is. I really stick with the mood. I mean, I can handle a pound or two here up there. And the benefit of losing weight is wonderful. But it's all, mental to me. It's all about the fatigue. And speaking of fatigue, Dr. Berg, we asked what prevents keto fatigue. And Terry's query says 57% is potassium, 23% says magnesium, 10% say electrolytes or sea salt, and 10% say vitamin B.
Potassium will knock out keto fatigue faster than anything I know. And so yeah, enough potassium and you won't have that fatigue. You have energy. Now, sometimes you need the B vitamins as well. But a lot of people, when they start keto, the requirement for like B1 goes up. And so as soon as they take the B1, they will quickly get rid of this symptom of this nervous energy and this inability to relax. And then when they go to sleep at night, they're not going to be excessively thinking, analyzing things to death. They'll quiet down, they'll feel relaxed, they feel calm. But if you're deficient in B1, you're going to be agitated. You're going to have issues with nerve issues and nervous, and you just won't be able to feel calm. And because you need B1 to make GABA, and GABA is one of the neurotransmitters in the brain that helps you feel like nice and relaxed. And so B1 goes a long way with that. Nutritional yeast is one of the best sources.
Yeah, you know my deal with nutritional yeast. And Sia from Facebook, my ketone levels are 7.6. Why are they so high? I'm not a diabetic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean that's still, you're still within the range. You start becoming a keto, like a ketoacidosis, and when it's like 10, 11, 12, that's when it starts becoming dangerous. But you're not in the danger zone yet. And so the danger of that is if you are a diabetic and you fail to take your insulin. So the other thing too, in the opposite spectrum, this low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, people start getting in keto and then they see their blood sugars are like down to 60, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have hypoglycemia. I need to eat sugar. Like, first of all, take a step back, ask yourself, how do you feel? Oh, I feel great. Well, guess what? You're not eating sugar, so your blood sugar naturally will come down because you're not eating sugar anymore. So this is a new normal. So the way you know you have hypoglycemia is if your blood sugars go down and you feel dizzy and disoriented and all that, in which case you need to do the correct version of keto to fix that. Because if you start adding carbs, what's going to happen? You're going to spike your blood sugar. Insulin's going to come behind. Then insulin is going to push your blood sugar down, and you're going to be on a hamster wheel where it's going to keep happening over and over and over. You'll never correct it by eating frequent meals or snacks or more carbs. The solution is to get on keto, intermittent fasting. That's the way to correct hypoglycemia. And I used to have it really badly, and I will tell you, it does work for that.
That's wonderful. And by the way, we push the buttons here and kind of produce the show, but it is the audience that makes it interesting, and they are so disciplined with coming up with answers and so on. Here's our next question, and thank you guys for that. Everyone's learning a lot. You guys are researching, but more importantly, you are working so fast and hard that we're always able to get, or at least almost always able to get through all the questions. And here's the latest one, Doc.
What is the most important blood test doctors never order?
Shame on them. All right, audience, let them have it over there, these doctors, what they do. I can't wait to hear the answer for that. In the meantime, a person who presents themselves as Heavenly Laster from Facebook wants to know how I can take keto supplements while I'm fasting. I guess the question is, will that interrupt my fast? Keto supplements.
This question always comes up every single week. So if you don't hear it, then you probably have to look it up a video. I've done videos on this, but it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be a problem. Take it when you're fasting. In order to create a problem, you would have to take a certain amount of calories. So these supplements are well under 1 calorie. So they're not going to be an issue. You can take your supplements. It's not going to be a problem at all. I wouldn't even worry about it.
Eureka. Okay, so Shay from YouTube wants to know if their cholesterol levels will increase if they do keto.
Typically, they'll go down, okay? But what happens is that as your cholesterol in your diet goes up on keto, the body will make less. And so there'll be some adjustments. And if you have somewhat of a functional liver with enough bile salts, your body will then get rid of the excess coming from your fat cell. So the fat cell, when it releases fat, it releases 2 things. One is triglycerides, and the other is cholesterol. And then the body sees this extra cholesterol, and it gets rid of it through the bile ducts and through the intestine. But if your cholesterol goes up and you're concerned, and you're not doing high carb, go get with your doctor and do this test called an advanced lipid profile. And you want to and watch my video on it. And it's called good and bad LDL. You're going to find that the only problem you have is you have higher amounts of the large buoyant particle size LDL. And what that means is that the type of cholesterol, it's not to be concerned with, because it's coming from, like I said, from your fat cells. It's not the small dense particles that invade the inside of the artery and create the inflammation. It's not that. I even did a whole evaluation on my wife who had high LDL when she started keto, and it's actually not the bad part. It's actually a good particle size, and so nothing to be concerned about. And the problem is if you do high carb, then the bad cholesterol becomes a small dense, and that goes into the artery and creates inflammation. So, people that claim that the keto is going to create problems, I always just like to ask them a question: what about a high carbohydrate diet? What kind of problems is that going to create with all the inflammation in the arteries, the eye, the kidney, the brain, the nerves?
Yeah, dump down a cup of sugar and call me in the morning. Tell me how that works out for you. Anyway, another Texan is online with us, Jan from San Antonio, a former long-haul truck driver. Had a little problem with his ticker, and now he's doing everything he can following your stuff to make life better. Jan, you're on with Dr. Berg.
Hey, Dr. Berg, how you doing?
Great, thanks.
A little history about me. I had a massive heart attack. I'm on insulin since then. They failed to diagnose the heart attack, so they sent me home for a day, and the result was some heart damage. Gained a lot of weight since they put me on the insulin. 2 weeks ago, I tried to stay active. I got out of my kayak, slammed onto the ground because I slipped, couldn't even get up. my buddy helped me get up, Mike helped me get up. And I said, I got to do Dr. Berg's eating plan. So I got my wife on board. I'm on 2 meals a day. Everything's legal that we're eating, no carbs. Yet I find that frequently after the meal, I'll check my sugar or say first thing in the morning, and it's real high numbers, like 3, 4, even I had a 500 one time. My question is, do I take the normal amounts of insulin? I was on a sliding scale for those high sugars. I feel like it's inhibiting weight loss, like you say, and it's the key to me not losing weight by taking all this insulin. So I feel like I need to stop it, at one point. What would you say?
So I'm guessing, did they diagnose you as a type 1 diabetic?
I'm a type 2 because of only having 30% heart function and things. They wanted my diabetes completely under control, so they put me on insulin. I take short and long term, and then they also gave me this stuff called Victoza, which is slows down the digestive system, I guess, and it's kind of I don't really care for it.
Do they have you on metformin?
No, I never did. Originally, I was a type 2 diabetic when I was a truck driver, and the metformin, I took it for a while, but it gave me such violent diarrhea all the time that I couldn't even hardly perform my job. And so they took me off and they put me on like a glipizide. And then once I had the heart attack, they switched me over to insulin. And I've been on the insulin for probably 8 years now.
I got it. Okay, so a couple things right off the bat. I would definitely get on something for the heart. I would get on some tocotrienols. Those would greatly support and decrease any complications to the inside of your arteries around the heart, and I think that will help your heart muscle. You'll have more oxygen. You'll feel better just from the heart. As far as the pancreas goes, you're right. The amount of insulin you're taking is just as bad as the high glucose. So I think you're doing the right thing by getting on keto, but I think you're going to have to take it one step further, because the thing is, if you're not eating as many carbs, in theory, the need for insulin should go down, because so then you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments, and because you want to check your blood sugar, and of course, if it comes down and you keep taking your insulin, then you're going to end up with a hypoglycemic situation, which you don't want to do. So there's several things that I would do if I were you. I would focus on decreasing the need for insulin, and that right there, you'll take less insulin and you'll extend your life. But I think in the meantime, you're going to have to add in some other things like a really good exercise program, which will automatically help you better sleep, less stress. I would recommend taking certain herbs that are very, very powerful to support the cell that makes insulin. One is Gemnema, by the way. That's a really good one for you. And then the vitamin D, benfotiamine, and then try to shoot to 1 meal a day.
Okay.
And make sure you're doing the nutrient dense stuff. And I think just give it more time. And
okay.
And you should start coming down, but definitely come back and let me know in a couple of weeks how that has worked for you. It should work in theory.
Yeah, I plan on coming back. I got a lot of weight to lose, and I want to be a success story, so I'm sure I'll come back and share that with you.
Absolutely.
Well, we can't wait to hear that story. Thanks so much for joining us down there, Jan, in Texas. We appreciate that. And listen, we've got quick answers from our audience. What is the most important blood test doctors never order? And the audience, 90% of them say HOMA IR, 5% say advanced lipid profiles, 5% say a vitamin B test. What do you say, Doc?
HOMA IR is correct. That is the one. And so you watching my videos. So what is HOMA IR? It's a combination of 2 different tests together, and one is you're doing a fasting insulin test, which is doctors don't even do that test. I don't know why not, but and they rarely ever even know what HOMA IR is. The IR stands for insulin resistance, and so it's a test to measure the the underlying insulin issue that's going on for so many people. So many people have high insulin and they don't know it. And because their body is compensating, their blood sugars are normal for about 15 years. And so because their blood sugars are normal, oh, you're fine. But they don't actually look at the insulin, which is in the brewing in the oven, till eventually it starts to create more and more insulin resistance, so the body can't compensate. And now the blood sugars start going up because insulin doesn't work anymore. And regardless of how much insulin you have. And so it's a very important test. And if you just get on keto and intermittent fasting, you will improve that insulin resistance. The problem is if you get on keto and intermittent fasting for a period of time and then you go check that test, it's going to be normal. So it's good to do it as a before you start keto test. But typically, it's a lot of people have a problem with that issue.
That's a tough one. Well, I tell you what, 90% of our audience was very bright having answered that correctly, but we're going to give the other 10% a chance to become right by asking the next question, the final question. And Doc, take it away. Actually, true, false, excuse me.
Mental health can be influenced by your good bacteria. So does it, like your microbiome, does that have anything to do with mental health? Well, this is a true or false. So I'm just going to say, is this true or false? Okay, mental health, does it influence is it influenced by your good bacteria?
All right, audience.
No, I asked the question again. Let me do that again, Steve. Mental health can be influenced by your good bacteria. Okay, I finally got it right.
All right, we got it. We got it down. Let's go to Jenny in Kissimmee, Florida. I think I said that right. Jenny, unmute yourself, and you are on with Dr. Berg. Here we go.
Hello, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
I'm very happy to be here. So I would like to know what would be the best way for myself to start following the ketogenic diet, simply because I'm currently nursing my second child. I've been nursing, I guess, since 2019, and I want to continue to have children. So I sometimes feel like I don't know when to start. Mm-hmm. How should I start? Especially because nursing makes me hungry, as many other women can relate to me. It makes me so hungry that I know that if I were to even skip a meal sometimes, if I am busy with my toddler, forget to eat something and I begin to nurse, I want to pass out, basically. Yeah. It's just so physically draining.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know how to start, but I would like to start because I think why not now, especially considering looking at both of my paternal and maternal side of the family, and how there's diabetes, there's high blood pressure, cholesterol, all of that. And I don't want that for myself. And so help me, Dr. Berg.
Yeah.
For us nursing mothers, what is the best way to start?
Yeah, you want to start immediately, in fact, and then for your next child, start before you're pregnant. Because it's the most important period of time for that future child, as far as their structure, on their physical structure, bones, their mental cognitive function, their future health is very much dependent on what you eat. Now you're lactating right now, which is also a time that you should be really good too. I would not actually implement intermittent fasting. I would only do keto. So it's really going to be simple. You just lower your carb. What's going to happen is that your blood sugars are going to improve with your body, and that's going to make you less hungry right off the bat. So now you're going to be less dependent on your stored glucose. You'll be burning fat, and that fat is going to be burned as fuel for your baby. And so the breast milk will be more nutrient dense. So I would do the healthy version of keto. Forget intermittent fasting until you're done with lactation, right? So just forget that, but start doing keto. And don't be afraid to consume fatty foods, big salads. You know, you want to do that for all the key nutrients. Breast milk doesn't have a lot of vitamin D, so I would definitely substitute a good amount of vitamin D. I would also, while you're at it, add the trace minerals with iodine, which you're going to find that if the child has enough iodine, their IQ will go up. Wouldn't that be cool? Their ability to learn will go up. If you're deficient in these trace minerals, the child will not quite learn as well. And so that could be a problem. But the vitamin D will prevent the child's getting braces down the road because their teeth will come out better. And you have enough time where you can actually make some adjustments right now. And watch my video on what to do when you transition off breast food and what to feed the child too. Very, very, very important. And then stay tuned for more videos too, because when you decide to have your next child, I'll have a lot more videos and material on what you should be eating to make a super healthy kid. And has a strong immune system, incredible dexterity, good bone structures, and less future problems. Very, very, very important. So just get on the keto right now and just forget about the fasting part.
Okay.
Oh, that's terrific. And congratulations on your burgeoning family, Jenny. How fun. All these little kids romping around, and they're going to be healthy, wealthy, and wise, I'm sure. So anyway, we appreciate your call from Florida. And by the way, Randy from Ontario, did we get to you? Will you shake your head if we did? Have you been on? Did. Okay. All right. That's great. Well, that's a wrap for that. We do have a final quiz question, which we have got an answer to, and this is a chance for everyone to redeem themselves because 100% say it's true.
It's totally true, and it's very interesting. I'll be releasing a video on this topic because it's you have this connection between your brain and your gut. It's bi-directional, so it goes back and forth. So whatever's happening, you can have all sorts of digestive problems caused by things that are influencing your brain, like it could be stress. It can make you physically sick in your gut, and you can also have a lot of GI problems down here, and it can affect your mental status. And I'm talking anxiety, especially depression, even schizophrenia. So they're doing a lot of research right now, and just adding a probiotic and adding more fiber from like cabbage is a prebiotic to feed your gut, and having massive significant changes in cognitive and mood changes, which I think is just fascinating because 90% of all your serotonin is made in your gut. And so if you don't have that, and then you're on a SSRI, antidepressant, which basically causes a reuptake and throws off the balance of serotonin, no wonder why the big side effect from these antidepressants are GI related. They have a lot of gastrointestinal problem because of the medication and what that alters as far as the neurotransmitter. So great, interesting data on that. I'm going to share with people coming up probably next week. I'll release it. And but the importance of these microbes, fascinating. And I'm going to be starting a new channel soon on soil and also growing your own food and the microorganisms that really is the make or break point between healthy and unhealthy food. Is going to be remarkable. So
that's fantastic. By the way, Dr. Berg, don't go away because we have your the free giveaway, absolutely free of charge, which, sorry to interrupt you, but I was just thought that you might get out of Dodge before you discuss this.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So we have, these are the upcoming videos, how to increase your telomere length, okay? Telomeres are those things at the end of your genes that if they're shorter, you have a shorter lifespan. So you want to watch that video. Okay, surprising higher amounts of carbs in certain food. If you're struggling with keto and it's not working, well, it could be certain carbs that you're unaware of. Use keto to normalize your menstrual period, okay? When I was in practice, there were women in their postmenopausal, 65 years old, all of a sudden started having a period. They weren't happy, but I told them that it was anti-aging, which it was. Okay, why do astronauts use spirulina? Great data on spirulina. It's fascinating. Stay tuned for that video as well.
Well, that's terrific. If you got nothing else, Doc, why don't you take us out until next week?
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful comments. I read a lot of them. I can't respond to all of them because there's 3,000 a day, but I appreciate that. Stay tuned for next week, as well as a lot of videos I'm going to release this every day. Have a good one.